What is up, guys? We are going to be going through a very brief, this is meant for new sports bettors. If you already know this, good for you. But we're going to be talking about Sleeper, okay? Sleeper, you can see I downloaded it on my computer. I'm going to give you a little tutorial video on Sleeper. And here you can see any of these states in purple, Sleeper is legal in. So it's available in a ton of states. My refer a friend code is just my name, Alex. Sign up. They give you a $100 deposit bonus. You put in $100, you get 200, right? You get 200 total, a free $100. And I'm going to take you through everything I know about this sports book. It's legal basically everywhere: California, Texas, Florida, all the main states, but it's a little unique. And that's what we're kind of going to explain in this video. So if we pull up Sleeper, let me explain to you the first thing that's interesting about Sleeper. So you're going to see you can't just bet on one pick. You need at least two plays on Sleeper. This is just how the platform is. You can't place straight bets. You can see right here at the bottom, it tells me no, you can't bet on Caleb Williams under 313.5 yards. You need at least two picks, right? That's different than, let's say, DraftKings and FanDuel. On DraftKings and FanDuel, you can just place one bet. You can just bet on the Nationals to win the game. So what's also unique about Sleeper is it's only player props. You can't bet on specific teams to win. It is only player prop bets, as you can kind of see on my screen right here, right? There's no mainline markets. There's no money lines. There's no point spreads, anything like that. It is focused on player props. But what is nice about Sleeper is they have a ton of different markets. So you can see like stolen bases. Stolen bases, you can't bet basically anywhere, but you can on Sleeper, right? You can bet singles, doubles, triples. Most sports books don't offer all of these markets. So that's one benefit of having Sleeper. But you need at least two picks. Now, let's also go over some other thing that's interesting about Sleeper. I at least find it interesting is you'll notice on Sleeper, I'd love to zoom in, but I can't zoom in, unfortunately, but you're going to see, right? All of these lines, it's like 3.12, 3.19, 3.22. So for some reason, they're posting their lines in what's called decimal format. So you look at DraftKings, plus 180 odds, right? This is what we all know, American odds. You look at Sleeper, it's 3.22. And you can kind of see that if I go back to Twitter. And they run a lot of promos on Sleeper, which I'll discuss here in a second. So they give you a lot of free money, right? Like all of these promos are absolute no-brainers, right? 6.5 to 0.5 strikeouts. This one they ran earlier this week. Usually they run like 2 or 3 promos on Sleeper every week. It takes like 2 minutes to sign up for Sleeper, literally 2 minutes to register. They give you a $100 deposit match with my refer friend code Alex, just my name, Alex. You get a free $100. And they run a ton of no-brainer promos. Even if you're not a serious sports bettor, this is the easiest money you're ever going to make is Kodai Sanga, over half of a strikeout. It's just free money. But what I was going to say is maybe it looks better here is let me just zoom in. You're going to see on Sleeper, like I took Braxton Garrett under 17.5 outs. So they're currently running a promo, which I love promos. It's free money. When I started out sports betting, all I did was bet promos, made thousands of dollars just taking advantage of these no-brainer promos like this one, like the play on Caleb Williams. Obviously, Caleb Williams is going to go over half of a passing yard. If you look at every other sports book, they have Caleb Williams at like 313.5 passing yards. You could also hedge this, right? If you're one of those people who's like, oh, I don't like risk that much, you could take his over half of a passing yard on Sleeper. Then you could go over to Underdog Fantasy, PrizePicks, literally any other sports book, and hit his under 313.5 passing yards, which you can see it is on Underdog Fantasy. But again, what's interesting about Sleeper, you need at least two picks. It's only player props, is they put their odds, I'm trying to zoom in a bit, in what's called decimal format. So for example, Braxton Garrett, I took him under 17.5 outs. You're going to see it's a 1.75x. It's like, what does that mean? So what that means is if you bet $100, right, your payout is $175 total, $75 of profit. So this is called decimal odds or payouts, right? And it's the exact same thing as odds. So if you think about it, I'll give you a very simple example, is you can pull up an odds converter calculator on OddsJam. So you just go to calculators, odds converter calculator. So 1.75, right? That was what it was for Braxton Garrett, means minus 133 American odds, minus 133.33, but you get the point. So plus 100 odds, which means betting 100 to win 200 total, 100 in profit, is just 2.0, right? So when Sleeper says something is 2.0, that means plus 100 odds. You're betting 100 to win 200 total, $100 of profit, right? So I don't know why they have their odds in decimal format, but they do. Right? So what are the pros and cons of Sleeper, right? Let's kind of go through that. I like discussing, whoa, I zoomed out way too much. So the pros of Sleeper are they have a lot of promos, right? Like right now they have Caleb Williams. If you want to tail the play I ended up going with, I'll show you what I ended up hitting. And you can see all I'm betting is promos. If you look at Sleeper, like the last promo they had was Gaussman. They reduced his strikeout line to 4.5. And again, it's hard to see. I'm not sure why their app is such small font, but you can see like my last entry won. These promos have a max bet size of $20. So I paired Caleb Williams with Braxton Garrett. Again, I'm not sure why everything's in decimal odds. It just is. All these promos have a max bet size of $20. But again, I mean, this is free money, right? Like it's hard to complain. Oh, I want, an $100 max bet size. It's free money. Gaussman, also a play I hit. So you can see that all right here. I'm basically just betting promos. Everything is a $20 bet. All I did was bet promos, and we can see how much money do I have in my account. How do I see that? What I can do is the only thing I've bet on Sleeper, only thing I've ever bet on Sleeper is promos. And you can see right here, if I just go to my wallet, I'm up $256.20 just betting these promos. You can see literally right here. It's all promos. I put in $100. They gave me $100 for free. That brought me to $200. $100. I'm already up. And then all I've done is bet these no-brainer promos. Sure, they don't all win, but I'm up, now $256.20, literally just taking advantage of these promos. I've never placed a bet on Sleeper that wasn't a promo. But if you want to place bets, I say this all the time, doesn't matter what sportsbook you're betting on, is you obviously want to look for value. So the hard thing about Sleeper, at least was what I've noticed, is they just don't have a lot of profitable bets. So if you look at the OddsJam Fantasy Optimizer, which you can see right here, right, like everything's in red. There's not much value on Sleeper. They're pretty good at managing their lines, whereas you look at Underdog Fantasy, there's a bunch of discrepancies, right? There's a bunch of good bets in the market, a bunch of line discrepancies, a bunch of plays in green. But it's a very simple concept. If you want to find profitable bets on Sleeper, find value in the market. So if you look at the Commanders, -6, this is an example on a sportsbook called Fliff. So another sportsbook, but I mean, the concept applies. You can see I hammered this bet. Commanders -6 at -110 odds. I included it in a parlay, which you can see right here. Commanders -6. I included it in a little parlay. And honestly, I'm not sure what Fliff is doing. They have this line at -110. Every other sportsbook, including Pinnacle, which is known to be one of the sharper or smarter sportsbooks, has this line at like around -140, -145. So as sharp bettors, all these books, they all have, they all want to be unique. They all set lines independently. They all have different odds from one another. And you can see here, it's like, what is Fliff doing, giving us this play at -110? That's crazy value. That is a bet we want to be on, right? So I'm sure there are good bets on Sleeper. In my opinion, it's just harder to find value on Sleeper compared to other sports books. So the main thing I'm betting is just these no-brainer promos. And again, it takes a minute to sign up. My refer friend code is Alex. You get a $100 deposit match. And I'm already up $256.20. Not much to complain about for, a few minutes of work every week, just betting these no-brainer promos. Absolute, easiest $256.20 you're ever going to make. So That's basically a tutorial on Sleeper. Player props only. You can only place parlays. You need at least 2 picks. Everything's in decimal odds. So knowing how to convert to American odds is important. OddsJam has an odds converter calculator to help you do that. And they have a lot of good promos. So I don't find a lot of good lines. But I mean, Caleb Williams over half of a passing yard, that's basically free money. That is a free win. And it's only a max bet size of $20, but still. And then again, the same concepts apply. Ooh, here we got a bet on Fliff. Is, look for value in the market if you want to make money. So maybe we hit some bets. So Sleeper doesn't have any value. So as a sharp bettor, you ideally want to have as many sportsbooks as possible. FanDuel, DraftKings, PrizePicks, whatever. And then you want to follow the value, right? Just like a hedge fund follows the value and looks for investments with an edge. As a sharp bettor, follow the value. Whatever sportsbook has the profitable bets, you probably want to be betting on more. Granted, different sportsbooks are, again, legal in different states. So Sleeper is available in these states. If you're in Nevada or New York, it looks like you don't have access to Sleeper, or Pennsylvania. But all these other states, you do have access. So you got to work with, obviously, like what you have out there in the market. But let's see if we can find some bet on Underdog Fantasy. So this is a play, for example. I actually bet this earlier on Underdog Fantasy. So you can see here, let me just refresh this. Looks like some plays are going well on Underdog Fantasy. Good start to the day so far, at least. I took Keelan Doss under 35.5 receiving yards. Underdog already bumped his line down to 33.5. Typically, that's a good indication, right? If the sportsbook's bumping lines in your favor, that's a good thing. So just the same way where we could middle this Sleeper promo, I mean, it's not even really a middle, but you could take him over half of a passing yard, and then you could hedge on another sportsbook. It really wouldn't make sense. He's obviously going to go over. But essentially what you could do is all the OddsJam tools are doing, this fantasy optimizer, is all it's doing is reading in all this crap. I mean, there are literally tens of thousands of lines, on Underdog Fantasy, on PrizePicks, on Sleeper. All the tool's doing is trying to show you those needles in a haystack where a sportsbook is actually messing up their line, and there's value, and there's a play with an edge. So if you take a look at Keelan Doss, right? His line on PrizePicks is 26.5. We have him on Underdog under 35.5. I mean, that's a huge discrepancy. 9 yards. NFL preseason, books are not good at managing their lines. So you could take his over on PrizePicks, take his under on Underdog Fantasy, and then you have a 9-yard middle, right? You have this 9-yard gap where if he has, 30, 31, 32, you get the point. Receiving yards, you're going to win both bets, right? Because there's this massive discrepancy in where books are setting the line. And that's how you really up your sports betting profits, is you do stuff like that. But anyways, we can refresh this, see if there's any plays that we are in love with. So let's take a look at this. Howard. So if we go over to the sportsbook screen, you can see Howard's line is 5.5 on Underdog. FanDuel has their line at 4.5. So that seems kind of interesting. So this tool, sportsbook screen, I just kind of like to check it out. I like to see where all the data is. Again, sports betting is all about data. So you can see every other sportsbook, every other fantasy site, Parlay Play, PrizePicks, Sports Battle, everybody, all the sportsbooks have her line at 4.5 or 5. Underdog Fantasy has the line at 5.5. So it's like, interesting, right? Out of all this crap in the market, we found a spot, a needle in a haystack out of these tens of thousands of lines where Underdog Fantasy's screwing up. And that's exactly what we want. So the next play that looks pretty good is Howard, or Canada, under 14.5 points, right? So you can see here, I mean, again, I'm not trying to bore you with the math, but this is how you find an edge, right? You exploit the sports books on their weak spots. So here you can see for Canada, every other book, this isn't about the WNBA. This is about trading. This is about sports betting and actually getting an edge. And this is actually how you make money. Any sharp bettor will tell you this. You can look it up. Any sports betting hedge fund syndicate, this is exactly what they're doing. So you can see for Jordan Canada, Underdog has their line at 14.5. You have all these other billion-dollar companies who have invested millions of dollars in their ability to set lines. They're all telling you, no, this line should be lower at 13.5. PrizePicks, FanDuel, you're not going to create a better model than a $10 billion company right here, FanDuel. You're not gonna. And all the sports books have the line at 13.5, and you're going to see they even have the under as the favorite outcome. The under 13.5 is the favorite outcome. So that play is beautiful. And if you wanted to, wow, you could pair it with Keelan Doss under 33.5 yards, but I already bet that. And unfortunately, what stinks about Underdog Fantasy is they only have $100 max bet sizes. But regardless, this plays ridiculously good, 3-pick entry. So we'll go ahead, we'll lock it in. On Underdog Fantasy, you want to place 3-pick entries. They give you a 6x payout right here. You're betting 100 to win 600. The reason I never place a 3-pick entry, on PrizePicks is they're only giving you a 5x payout. So never do that. But anyways, hopefully this was helpful, kind of introduction to Sleeper, the pros, cons of getting this sports book. Again, my refer friend code is Alex. Just my name, Alex. You get a $100 deposit match. It's literally free money. Take advantage of the free money. Take advantage of the free money promos. And thanks so much for your time.